I was just thinking today on back when I was a kid, we didn't have all the strict rules and regulations and legislation and stuff that they have today. When I was a kid, we used to ride in the back of pickup trucks, sometimes with the tailgate down, sometimes sitting on the tailgate is the drove down the road with us on the back bouncing around. We used to ride on the drawbar of the tractor up and down the road, and we rode bicycles and didn't have to have helmets and knee pads and elbow pads and all such as what they have today. If you fell off your bicycle into the gravel, you got scraped up. You went home, mom got the mercurochrome and put it on your wounds, picked the gravel out of you with a pair of tweezers and bandaged you up and sent you back out to play. Wasn't such mollycoddling as what they go through today, rushing everybody to the emergency room for every little thing that happens to them. We didn't have to wear seat belts in a car. Shoot, we didn't even lock the car doors. We'd be leaning up against the car doors, sleeping even with the uh, door unlocked as you went down the road. And if the door swung open, well, generally somebody grabbed you and dragged you back in the car before you fell. And if not, well, you fell out of it. You get up off the ground, dust yourself off, and run up and catch up to the car and get back in. And then your parents give you the dickens because you leaned up against the car door. Oh, for crying out loud. Instead of everything today, you got to put kids in the back seat in a booster seat until they're 18 or whatever the heck the age is. It amazes me. It just amazes me. No wonder we've got a nation of wimps growing up. My, my, my. We used to swing in the barn rafters around by the ropes hanging up in the barn mow, and I stepped on plenty of rusty nail as a kid growing up. And bees, I went barefoot. By the time they let school out in the late spring there, and I'd take off my shoes the last day of school when I got home and didn't put them back on till fall. And whatever I stepped on, well, that's what I stepped on. And you healed up and went on. Might have to soak your foot a time or two in some Epsom salts and get over it. Oh my. They just uh, worry about everything. I mean, lead-based paint. Shoot, we used to chew on the woodwork, which might explain a lot. But I mean, there wasn't no rules and regulations and stuff like what we have today, and we seem to live through it and get toughened up by it some. But these kids today, my goodness gracious, everything, it's like they're in a bubble, and you got to protect them from every little thing. And they don't know what they're missing. They don't know the good times they're missing. Shoot, some of the best times we had when I was growing up, we got scraped up a little bit. It was a battle wound, a badge of honor. Showed that we had courage. You fell off of something at the playground, now they'd rush you to the hospital and be worried about a lawsuit. Back then, shoot, that was a pat on the back if you fell off of something. The playground equipment ain't nothing like what we used to have. Shoot, we had monkey bars and I forget what some of them things was called. There's this one thing that, and I know they outlawed. I think it was called the witch's bell or something, and you grabbed onto this thing and you swung around on it. There's enough kids that fell off and got hurt that they decided that they'd do away with them things altogether. Shoot, that was big fun when I was a kid. And they don't do none of this stuff now like what they used to. Everything has to be some kind of an organized event, and everybody gets a trophy. And shoot, we chose up teams when I was a kid, and you'd have one team playing against another team. One team won, and the other team didn't. And if you didn't win, well, you tried harder the next time. Now everybody, if you win or lose, and they say, "Oh, it's not about winning or losing; it's how you play the game." Everybody played, so everybody should get rewarded. That's not how it works out in real life. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and you need to get used to it. Better yourself. Learn from whatever your mistakes are and your failures, and try to learn to do better. I can remember as a kid, a memory that no kid will ever have again. And that's riding in the back of Grandpa's Studebaker when we go to the grocery store on Saturdays. And this is preschool. And I stood up in the back of that Studebaker looking out the back window of that car as we drive into town. We go to the IGA store. And I can always remember they didn't have much money at all, but Granny be, picking out whatever they needed at the store that week, and maybe she'd want to get a little bit something extra, and she didn't know if they'd be able to afford it or not. I can always remember it happened almost every week. She'd look over at Paul and say, "Paul, can we afford to get this or that?" And he'd say, "You only live once. If that's what you want and you'd enjoy it, you go ahead and get it." And he never denied her nothing. He might have to work a little bit harder to end up paying for it, but he never denied her anything. And kids today, they don't know what that's all about. I've seen them in the grocery store yelling and screaming and clambering, wanting this, that, and the other thing. If they don't get it, they have temper tantrums. And we didn't throw no temper tantrums when I was a kid when we went to the store. That was a one-way ticket to out behind the woodshed. You try such a stunt as that. And they get you right there in the store, too. I mean, your parents would pick you up and blister you right there. And that'd be the end of that. Now they call the law if a parent whooped up on a kid for acting up in the store. And that's silly. I've been known to offer to help somebody whip up on a kid if I saw him acting up. I walked right up to the parent and said, "Do you need me to help you with that?" Oh, shoot. Yeah, they don't know how to make a mind anymore because they're afraid of the law. And I don't know how we happened to make it, but boy, we sure did have a good time. And we lived to tell about it. How we lived to tell about it, according to the rules and regulations we got today, I'll never know. But I'm a happier person for the things I went through as a kid.